Okay, it's Summer on the Farm block of the month, and this is month 4. This month you're making the sheep blocks. We have 2 blocks for that, the right facing sheep and the left facing sheep. So in your instruction book you have 2 totally separate patterns for it, left facing, and since this is in alphabetical order, the right facing is over here. So the instructions for cutting it out are all here, of course, like as they are for all the blocks. But a couple things I wanted to point out for this. There's a lot of pieces you cut out for this, as there are for many of the blocks in this quilt. And for the right and left facing sheep, the sheep are identical. You cut out all the same pieces for the right as for the left. The only thing is they're just constructed differently because they face different directions. So when you cut out the background for the left facing sheep, it says cut 2 2-inch squares. I would cut 4 2-inch squares, and then you already have them cut out for the other sheep. You don't have to do it this way, but I think that would just kind of simplify things and speed it up for you. So on the background, you can double everything that you cut. You're just going to have to keep track of all those pieces. You're given large pieces of background to work with, and it can be kind of awkward cutting those up sometimes. Okay, for the sheep, there are 2 different fabrics for the sheep, so you only follow the directions here. The shapes and sizes of all the shapes are exactly the same. It's just that you'll cut them separately because you have 2 different colors. For the face and legs and for the heart, again, you can just double everything. So you might even take a pencil or pen and just where it says 1, cross off 2, cross it off and write 2, and so forth. It's up to you how you want to do that. I would just suggest doing that. Now, to keep track of all of these, I really find helpful labeling them, since the book has them labeled A, B, C, D, and so forth. These little alphabetties that you can get with the numbers on them are very helpful. So when I cut out a piece, like on the background, I have those all right here, and I have it for both sheep, the A, B, C, D, and so forth. There we go. And then when my instructions say to pick up an A background with a R face block, okay, then those are labeled and I know exactly where to go, because otherwise it's really hard to keep track of all these sizes. It's kind of too much of a mind game. So the alphabetties are really helpful. They come in blue, pink, and gray, and then also they're available with double letters on them too. Actually, at least one of these blocks goes past Z. This one goes up to X. One of the blocks goes past Z into double letters too, but you wouldn't have to get that. I'm just mentioning that. Okay, so have all your blocks, pieces all cut out, whether you label them with alphabetties or not. Have them all cut out, ready to go, and put on something like, I just happened to put them on this wool ironing mat because that was convenient for me. And then I can, as I cut them, I'll just lay them on here. I can pick this up and move it as I want to. If I don't get it all done in one sitting, they're all still contained and won't get misplaced. Okay, another thing I found helpful for this is the Seams So Easy sewing guide that you can use. So you will place this on your sewing machine. We have a video for you already on that Barb did to show you how it's used. But when you're sewing little squares onto another piece to make the triangle shape, this is really helpful because you can line up here the corner of your square right there on the center line. Another way to do some of those is to take the folded corner clipper or the simple folded corners ruler and cut your shapes as well. And I like these. I find these helpful. Both of these methods are nice because you don't have to draw all the lines that the pattern says to. You can just do it without drawing lines, and I like that technique. the downside of using these rulers is when you lay them on there, if you cut your piece off the wrong way, you kind of have messed things up. Whereas if you sew it the wrong way with this, you just rip out your stitches and sew it again. But on this one, if you were to put this on here and lay it this way, cut it, but it was really supposed to be that way, then you can't do anything about it except start over with your pieces. Okay, for this kit, you have plenty of the sheep colored fabrics, and on my board here I have the one color sheep. The other one is already cut out here and set aside. I'll put that on there with the letters once I'm ready to make that. And then with the black, you have more than you need. Save this piece because you will use it in another block for the tires, and I'm not sure, maybe another one. So, but always save all your little pieces. I had a little plastic container that I put all my little scraps in. I had big scraps and little ones. All my little ones were in a container that I could go to that if I needed them later on. Okay, one more tip, when you're making this quilt, as I may have mentioned this before, but I like to use small rulers because you're doing lots of little small cut up things. So this is probably the biggest small ruler that I would use. It's a 4.5 by 12.5, and it's nice for cutting up your background because you're going to have kind of strange shapes and everything here. So if my pattern says cut 6 2-inch squares, and I might just cut 2 inches right across here, I'm going to get more than 6 out of it, but then I'll save these little pieces. Maybe it calls for that same measurement later in that block, or maybe another block will call for that, a 2-inch square, and I will have that and save it. So that's really handy for cutting across half widths of fabric. Okay, I like this little 5-inch, what's this, Charming Basic Range. It's actually a 6-inch ruler, exactly 6, not 6.5. Although I do have a 6.5 I like. I have a 4.5-inch, which I just love. It's a must-have ruler. And then the little 2.5 by 6.5-inch Prairie point ruler is real handy for cutting little things. Because when you're cutting little blocks, we have 1-inch pieces here. Some of the blocks actually have 3/4-inch cuts. So it's nice to have a little ruler for that. The Tucker trimmer for trimming up half square triangles as needed. And then for something a little bigger, if you need it, is a square ruler that's not huge. This is a 9.5-inch one. An 8.5-inch is nice as well. So that is about all I have to say about the sheep blocks, and hope you enjoyed them, and we'll hopefully have another video next month.